And we're live. Welcome, welcome, ladies. Hello, hello. My name is Taylor Thompson. I'm live here in the She Network where we're sharing her excellence. And this is Tuesdays with Taylor. So let us know when you're here. Let us know when you're coming in. I want to say hi where you're coming in from. Let us know if this is a replay. You can push hashtag replay if you want. If this is your first time hearing us, being here on our interviews, let us know that as well. And I have a very, very special guest here with me today. And for those of you who are active inside our She Network and inside our group, you will know her too, because she is probably one of the most active members that I have inside the group. Always sharing her excellence, always sharing her content, always loving on these ladies, always making them feel good about where they are every single day. And so that's my special guest, Miss Dr. Wendy Labat. Wendy, how are you?
I'm doing great, Taylor, and thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being on with you guys. I love the She Network.
Well, and She Network loves you too. I remember whenever you first started coming in and you were making all this amazing content, and I was like, wow, who is she? Like, I love her. I love the engagement. I love the and I think I sent you a little thank you.
You did. Thank you card. Matter of fact, I've got it right here. Thank you, card. And I got my brownies are gone, so they went away the first day.
Were those not the best brownies ever?
Good, very good. Yes.
You talk about.
So I appreciate you.
Thank you. Well, it was definitely worth the cheat. Those brownies are definitely worth the cheat. So I'm glad you enjoyed those.
Yes, I did.
Well, so Dr. Wendy, okay, so ladies, I want you all to give a big whoop whoop for Dr. Wendy because she just found out that her book, she just launched her book. It's ready to be purchased on Amazon.
Yeah. I am so happy. Yay.
I love that. I'm so happy for you. So congratulations. Whenever you get ready for the link, we definitely, let us know. We want to promote that book for you.
Okay.
So let's talk to Dr. Wendy. Let's get to know you. I want to hear more about your story and hear about your journey and how you became this entrepreneur. And so you have some wisdom to share and how you are going to show us about finances and financial literacy. Love this.
Yes. Well, I do go back to my 36-year journey when I started my entrepreneurial journey. It wasn't planned. There's a big backstory behind it, but I started with no business experience, no money. And it was a time where there was no social media, no internet. And the only thing you could do with a cell phone was make an expensive phone call. Yeah. And my client base was corporate America. And in order to get the big contracts, you had to have the facade of the brick and mortar, the employees, the inventory, and all the overhead that goes with it. And since, of course, I wanted the big contracts. And if I projected anything less than that, they would consider me or anyone else as a not mom and pop organization, not capable of handling the big contracts. So
now, let's talk about so whenever you say entrepreneur, you were in business for yourself, and what kind of business was it? Financial?
No, back then I was in the office equipment business. I sold copiers and fax machines, typewriters, toners, developers, and service those type of equipment. So it was, like I said, it required some overhead, and I really didn't know what I was doing, but I, but figured out how to.
But here's the thing, you started out just like most of us. When you think about 36 years ago, a lot of the ladies in here, they have no idea what it's like to do business without a cell phone or without social media. I can certainly identify with this, starting my business 27 years ago in the network marketing space, with no cell phone, with no social media, and you had to hustle. Like, it was a whole different mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, phones were attached to the wall, literally.
Yeah.
and really having to overcome what you said, whenever you're talking about office equipment, people were looking at brand names, right? And you had to overcome that, and doing that without any money, without any marketing without, it was sheer hustle, right?
Yes, yes, with no experience about business, and that was, I didn't really realize business had, principle, not principle. I knew about principles, but I didn't understand the steps. I didn't understand the sales process, marketing and that kind of thing. I just kind of winged it at first because I didn't know any better. But back then, what we do social media wise, it was called networking back then. What we call branding now was just called your reputation. So
Yes.
that was what got you over. It wasn't whether your brand looked good, it was whether or not people felt you had integrity and they can trust you with their business. So that was
Exactly.
the key thing back then. And it rings true now. I mean, you can have a perfect brand, but if you don't deliver on what you say you're going to deliver, it's a moot point.
It's such a great point, Dr. Wendy. I mean, the fact that there's so many people that they get caught up in the outer looks of what
Mhm,
the brand is, and I think not really putting their energies on really what the core values or the character
mhm.
of the brand is going to be. I mean, it can look
That's
pretty
true.
on the outside, but what is the true character? What is the true nature of the
Mhm,
brand itself? You, who you are, what you represent, what you stand for, and if that doesn't match up, this
mhm.
can be good on the outside, but if this doesn't match what's happening on the inside, you know, it still holds true no matter how much social branding you do. If you don't have the core values and integrity and ethics to go along with it, you're not going to be in
Yeah.
business very long.
That's for sure. And my mentor back then used to tell me that, you could show up at every networking event because back then it was all live and you went there. And he said, when you go to a networking event, everybody, you work the room and let everybody know who you are, what you do, and how to get in touch with you. He said, but the key thing is to follow up afterward. He said, because, there are people that play business and there are people that are about business. And he said people that are playing business, they show up at every event, but they don't follow up. And the people that are about business, they show up, they let people know who they are, what they do, and how to get in touch with them, and they follow up afterwards. So that's the key thing, the follow up.
Even now, like I was always taught, Dr. Wendy, like there's a penny in the sale, but there's a fortune in the follow up. And
Hmm.
networking is networking and starting the relationship. And whether it's face to face or whether it's like what we're doing here, you're making
Hmm.
a connection. But so many times people sow the seed and they never water it.
That's true.
They
That
never
is true.
it's more transactional. They're looking for an
Hmm.
transaction or immediate gratification versus taking the time and effort, because picking up I always said, like, for the follow-up, the phone can be really heavy
Hmm.
if it's transactional, right? If
Hmm.
if it's if it's true relationship building and true networking, the phone is very light, right? The
Hmm.
follow-up process becomes an integral part of your character and of your brand, and you become known for that because they know
Hmm.
that you're going to follow up and follow through exactly how you position yourself.
Hmm.
Agree?
Yeah, I agree. And also being transparent to a degree. Even though we had the facade and everything looked good, there was a point that, you just had to kind of let people know what's going on. Like I said, my funds were limited and my vendors gave me terms of net 10 to buy this equipment or this inventory. But my customers, corporate America, they want to stretch it out 30 days, sometimes 60 days, and I couldn't afford that. So instead of trying to front like I could, then
And
I just let
some
them
people
know.
some people explain that, like the net 10, like because like what you were doing, the net 10 versus net 30. If you can explain that so they understand what you're talking
Mhm.
about.
Okay, net 10, well, it's the terms of which you have to pay your invoices.
Mhm.
My vendors would send me the product and I would have 10 days to pay it. and, to keep my credit in good standing. Now, my clients, corporate America, you want their business, but then, they were kind of dictating the terms by saying, okay, we'll pay you in 30 days, but yet I had to pay my vendor in 10 days. So I couldn't afford to do that on the bigger contracts, so I'm like, okay, I had to talk to these purchasing people and let them know that I'm a small business, owner, and I've got some terms with my vendors. But if I get this contract or I have this contract, I need to be able to pay my vendor on time. I need to be able to buy in quantity so that I can get the better pricing, and I
Mhm.
need your help to do that. And a lot of them, were very sensitive about it, and they were very felt like, okay, you're being honest with me up front. And they went out of their way to make sure not only did I got paid in net 10, but some of them would give me a check with the order, with the contract. So I could have that purchasing power that allowed me to increase my terms with my vendor, buy in larger quantities, which increased my profit margin. So it was a win-win situation. So it worked out pretty good.
Well, and here's the thing. I love what you're saying about being transparent. There's so many times that people like you could, I mean, if you wouldn't have had that upfront conversation, you could have very easily put yourself out of business by
Mhm.
not being upfront with your clients, and the fact that they were like, because here's the thing, it's always a no unless you ask, right?
That's true.
It's always a no. And so we've got to take the position that people are for us and not against us, right?
That's true.
And
That's true.
and, and so I love the fact that you're positioning yourself like this, because it paid off in a big way.
It did. And not only did it pay off with my clients, but with my dealership. I was a Canon dealer. And, as I got bigger contracts, I needed to partner with, a company, one of the other Canon dealers that handled the bigger equipment, because I was only authorized to do the smaller equipment. And then my service was limited to that equipment. But as I got the bigger contracts, they Canon paired me with a bigger dealer. We did joint venture work where I got the big contracts. We would work, I have the supplies I could handle, the equipment only up to a certain level, and then the service only up to a certain level. So we had a joint venture agreement that I got these contracts for the bigger equipment. We had a revenue share on the supplies, on the service, and it worked out. It was a win-win for all of us. So it
Well,
worked
and
out really well.
Well, and here's the other thing that I see, the advantage that you had versus the larger companies that was probably trying to get their business, is because you were real. There was a face with it was the face with the brand, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Hmm.
I mean, you were doing the know, like, and trust, you know, outside of social media. Like, that was your social media, that you were
Hmm.
creating a real relationship, creating a bond, creating a business relationship that they probably, because you were so real, because you were so true, and because you followed up and you went through all of these, principles, right, that were taught in
Hmm.
any company, in any business, whenever you're in business for yourself, that they probably gave you a lot of referrals. Would you agree? Am I guessing
I
right?
did. I got a lot of referrals. Plus, I tapped into a market that some of the bigger companies couldn't get in, because back then the female-owned, minority-owned participation was pretty big. And in order to, for them to tap into that, they weren't female or minority owned. So partnering with me helped us both get into that market to a point where it was mutually beneficial. I was able to raise my level of participation because, I had a partner that could support me in that. So it was a win-win situation.
I love that. So if you guys are just joining us, have some people like just pop in. So we're here with Dr. Wendy Labatt here. And as for those of you who know her, like, she's super active inside the She Network, and I was giving her some accolades here. We're celebrating because she just got her book on Amazon.
Yay.
to know her a little bit and hear about her business background. 36 years of being an entrepreneur with background with no money, no business experience, and being able to be successful and projecting herself forward. So take us forward here, Wendy. So now that you're having some success, being your own entrepreneur, really gathering up the business acumen. What happens next for you? Because I mean, let's take us into the personal journey, because I always talk about with women, especially, and men too, but sometimes, we can really get the business side going, right?
Yeah.
Things in the personal side, right? So it's a constant like yin and yang. I mean, you may have personal life really working and going good, and then business may be off. And so what does that look like? And I think women are constantly in that tug of war, trying to get every piece of their life moving and working synergistically. So tell us about that.
Well, moving forward, I ended up, I got out of that business because, I was single at the time. So, it was fine for the travel and all that. But then when I married, I didn't want to do as much travel. I, wanted something that was allowed me because I wanted more kids and everything. So I needed more flexibility for that. So I ended up, getting into the mortgage business, the tax business. I had some, multiple streams of income. But with the Affordable Care Act being enacted back in 2014, I expanded my business to include insurance and financial services. Now, I didn't want to be a hypocrite, so, I bought up all the products I was trying to sell my clients and, to make sure that I had them because, I did have clients that would say, okay, well, what do you have? Where's your money? What kind of coverage do you have? And I could honestly say, I've got this, I've got that, because I wanted to sell them the top of the line. So I had the top of the line.
Right.
And in 2017, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And my chemotherapy bills were $67,000 every 3 weeks for a year, because that's how often I was getting my infusions. And I don't know about you, but 67,000 every 3 weeks could kill a person's financial. So it could ruin you financially if you on top of your regular business and personal expenses.
Wow.
So thank God I practice what I preach, because my health insurance paid all that. In addition to those bills, I had 5 surgeries with the MRIs, CAT scans, all the labs and everything that goes with it. And those bills total to a little over 300,000. So I don't know, like I said, that would have ruined me financially if I didn't have the coverage I had. So like I said, my health insurance paid all that, but I also had supplemental coverage because, I didn't ever think I was going to get cancer. Nobody else in my family had breast cancer, but I bought these products not from a position of looking at my personal strategy, but from a business and marketing perspective, because like I said, I wanted to make sure that if I'm selling it to them, then I had it. And prior to me getting diagnosed, one of my colleagues went for a physical and found out he had kidney cancer. And, this was well before my diagnosis. And I was like, wow, I hate to hear that, but I'm sure you're going to clock some dollars, because I figured, he bought the coverage just like I did. And he said, Wendy, I don't even have health insurance. I said, you don't have health insurance? Now, can you imagine being diagnosed with cancer, no matter what type, and not have health insurance, and you're in the insurance business? It's like, come on. I felt for him, but then I didn't, because, you're being a hypocrite. And that's one thing that, I vowed not to be. That's why I bought all that I had. So when I got my diagnosis, and I saw that my health insurance covered it, I was like, thank you, Jesus. But then when I looked at the other coverage I had, I got a multi 6-figure, shot in the arm that allowed me to work on my recovery and not worry about money. My business was flowing, my personal money was coming in, because I was getting this shot in the arm. And that was what I call the financial cure, so that's where I started my company, the Financial Cures, because it was truly a financial cure because, like I said, I could have been ruined financially. And I said, okay, I'm doing fine. Money's flowing. I'm older. I could just kick back and not worry about anything. But the spirit said, no, we position you to benefit. So you need to go on a crusade to empower other people to get their finances in order. I learned, from having my office equipment business, how to take control of my finances, how to make my money work for me, how to negotiate terms with my vendors and my customers, and then with the insurance, how to get the health coverage you need, how to be able to do it affordably, how to protect myself, and to how to, create generational wealth. So that's what
So,
I'm all about.
so let's talk about this for just a minute here, because I mean, so everything that you're saying, I think that most women can really connect with this on every level from being an entrepreneur, because usually we normally start businesses because we identify a problem, maybe either in our life or in someone else's life, that we go, okay, we have some sort of moral obligation that we have knowledge that other people need, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, because either, we started because we have a family situation that we're addressing, a problem or a situation that we've got to solve. You started another business because you saw, from a moral obligation, you've already walked through this, right? And so many times we forget the things that are placed in our life, the things that we're walking through. As we're walking through it, we're meant to get to the other side so we can be a beacon of light for somebody walking behind us. That somebody walking behind us needs to hear this story. That somebody behind us needs help, showing them where the stones are, right? They can walk on water only because we can show them where the rocks are to get across.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
And so I love this, because very easily, Dr. Wendy, you could have said, "Hey, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good." Right? Selfishly, right? Selfishly, you could have said, I'm good with this." But I love the fact that you are very heart-centered, that you're doing this because you see a need, you see a problem, you see something that you can help solve, and you put yourself out on the line to be able to reach out and to connect and be able to help somebody walking behind you. I love it. I love this.
Now, to be honest with you, at first, that's what I said. Is like, I'm good. Okay. I can just kick back. I don't have to worry about it. But then, I'm a spiritual person, and my spirit said, no, you're good, but you're going to help other people be good. So I was just really being obedient to a calling that I had, that the spirit was leading me to. Because I was good, but I'd conquered this disease. My finances were in order, my businesses were still going, but I got, I'm an older lady, so I was getting a little, lazy about doing anything. And then when the spirit said, "Okay, you're going on the crusade to help other people," because I know as an entrepreneur, we put insurance and that kind of thing at the bottom of the totem pole. Like I said, we'll insure our cars, our cell phones, our homes. But when you talk about insurance, and I've talked to several successful people, and they don't, they say, I don't need insurance. I got money. But, your health is your wealth. That money can be gone just like that, because you can have millions of dollars in medical bills, and even if you do have money, you don't want to spend it on medical bills if you can avoid that. And, people need to understand that's a priority, not only for their own personal health, but for generational wealth.
So, okay, so we're really talking about the business side of this and what you went through, but I really want to touch the emotional side of this, because I don't want to skim past the fact that you battled probably the most dreadful cancer that any woman would not want to hear, right? I mean, so I don't want to overlook what you just said, because you made it sound like it was, but I know it wasn't just.
No, it wasn't an easy battle, that's for sure. And I had the most aggressive cancer. I think that's why I had such an aggressive chemotherapy regimen, because I was, when I got the diagnosis, I didn't think it was a death sentence. I had a sense of peace. Um, finding out. But then even my family, they were waiting to see how I reacted to it before they reacted. So I let them know, look, I'm gonna be around now. I'm not going anywhere. This disease is not taking me out. I'm gonna be here for weddings and babies and all that. And once they saw I was okay with it, they were okay, even though it got to a point where my physical, look was, frail and sickly, but my spirit was still good. No matter how thin I got or how weak I got, my spirit was still strong. And as long as I kept that strong spirit, then they kept their strong spirit. They kept the support from me without, being sympathetic and that kind of stuff.
So I want to tap into this for just a minute, if you don't mind, because I love this from the perspective of, here's the thing, like so many times, I mean, no matter what the report is, right? So we get a bad report, right? So we talk about, like in our business as being entrepreneurs, we talk about mindset all the time. We talk about this, we talk, mindset, right? But it's a whole nother thing whenever a bomb drops on your life.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have to put where the rubber meets the road now.
Yes,
now you got to walk it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's real now how strong is your mindset now? How strong is your faith? How strong is your belief system now? Because all of that practice and all of those books and all of the scripture and all of those studies and all of those coaches and all of that stuff that we've poured into us, now it's a time to apply it, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And,
now, what? Oh, go ahead.
You could have very easily, and because I love this, because I want to point this out. Whenever we get a bad report, we have a choice. We have a choice to either receive it and accept it and buy into it, or we say, you know what, that's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I love because everything starts with a thought and then becomes a word. The fact that you took that thought and you go, this is not going to beat me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to be around. So those were your words that you're projecting out and you are sharing with other people like, hey, I'm here, right? So many times I think whenever we're faced with a bomb drops on us, we don't take those into account, and then it comes out of our mouth, and then it's not life, but it's death, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I such a great show of your faith in the belief system, and probably such a pillar to your family and your friends who watched you walk through this.
Yeah, it was. And like I said, I'm a firm believer, and that really got me through, just knowing that God had my back. And then just when I got, my doctor didn't even tell me I had it. I had my biopsy, went to the office or called about getting the results, and they handed me the envelope. The doctor wouldn't see me, and I had to go to my car and read the results, and saw carcinoma, which meant cancer. And I didn't even cry. I'm like, for one, I was so pissed at the doctor for not even, following up. I mean, I haven't heard from her yet. And it's been, 3 years? But I take it back. A year later, they had the nerve to call me about a follow-up annual exam. It's like, take my name off of your roll. You couldn't even give me the time of day when I got diagnosed with cancer. You think I'm coming back to you? But
Wow.
It's like the things happen the way they, supposed to. But I just said, okay, Lord, I got this diagnosis, even though it wasn't official from a doctor's mouth. It was on paper from the biopsy results. And I'm like, okay, where do I go from here? I didn't know, who to call or anything. So I had a friend that was a conqueror. So I called her and I said, look, I just got my biopsy results and I've got breast cancer. Can you give me the name of your doctor? And she did. And I called them while I was sitting in my car and told them the situation. And they said, okay, I need you to fax those results to me and then we'll call you right back. So I said, I'm going to head home. I faxed the results. And like 2 minutes later, they called me right back. And when I gave them my insurance information, they said they didn't accept my insurance. She said, but hold on, let me make a couple calls and I'll call you back. So about 5 minutes later, she called me back saying, look, call this number, ask for this lady, and all you have to do is give them your insurance information, and they're ready to schedule you an appointment. And that was to the Emory Winship Cancer Clinic. And I called them up, got an appointment like the next day. And that's just how God worked, because I'm like, oh, where am I going to go? Who am I going to see? And, when she said she didn't take my insurance, it's like, okay, now what's going on with that? But that was okay because this center is like the leading cancer center in Atlanta. Probably could be around the world. I don't know, but I know I got some really good,
Yeah.
treatment there. And it just really worked out. I didn't get all into, letting everybody know, my immediate family knew because it was our thing to deal with, and people at church were inquiring about me through my husband. He said, well, she's, just going through some things. And then when I finally started going back, and once I, conquered it, it's like time to tell my story. I was telling everybody, but as I was going through it, I didn't really let it out like that.
Well, and that's such a great, gosh, such a great tip for anybody. Whenever you keep those things kind of close and only share with people who are of the like-minded belief system, who are going to speak, life and not go, oh my gosh, and talk about the worst scenario, right?
Yeah.
People talking and the words and all of that stuff that you give energy to. And, I just appreciate such a great example, such a great example of how to really, project your life, how to walk out your life, and how to walk out your faith in front of other people. And so let's talk about this, Wendy. So as the ladies are listening here, because you have a plethora of business experience, right? Life experience as a wife, right? And as a cancer survivor. And so what is the wisdom? What would you like to pour into the ladies today? What can you give them today? Because you just released your book. I mean, you're an author, published author, what a incredible genius here that we have. What is it like? I mean, because we're going to have you inside the membership sharing some financial literacy stuff. But what is it that you feel like the ladies that you could give them and they could walk away with today and put in their briefcase of skills?
Okay, well, the thing I like to focus on now, and this is in my book called Diagnose Your Financial Health, it's the 6 obstacles to winning the money game or optimizing your financial health. And the first one is your mindset and lack of knowledge. You got to have the right mindset, whether it's, about your finances, your weight, whatever, you have to have that mindset. And you have to have knowledge. You don't have to know everything, but there's some basics that you need to know. And the more you know, the better. And then you have to have control over your finances. I tell people you need to plan where your money goes instead of wondering where it went. And, there are ways to, take control over your finances. And then the next thing is having proper protection. If I didn't have the proper protection, I don't think I'd be sitting here with you today because I'd be broke and, trying to struggle to get, my head above water. And then I talk about the tax codes and tax laws because those are crucial, especially the tax codes like your 401k, your IRAs, 403bs. People invest, in those vehicles for what they think is going to be a good retirement, but really it's setting you up to have to get a job at Walmart as a greeter or something. And then the tax.
And I was going to talk the tax laws and stuff. And I don't know, for those of you who, did you watch the interview that I did with Courtney Epps? I mean, she's really I've
seen her before. Yeah, I didn't watch your interview with her, but I like Courtney.
Her passion for how to help, people in business and how to, especially for networkers, to be able to recruit using the tax laws and literally putting money in your pocket just for having a part-time business. It's unbelievable. So that's such a great tip. So, and the next one?
The next one is your investment losses, market risk, and global economic impact. We are seeing right now how we're tied together globally, with the pandemic, economically. And we have to understand that, because when I first started out 36 years ago, we were trying to go regional, statewide or regional, but, we weren't as tied globally to business as we are now, because, things, the supply chain is based on products made outside of the US, and people that do the virtual assistants, they're coming from other countries. So, that's a factor. Then the market and investment losses, we can tell from the stock market, people try to invest to, boost their income, but the stock market will crash. And a lot of people don't understand indexing, which is something I talk about and I teach, because that will give you those returns of the market, but no risk of the market. So those are key things. And if you understand that, then you can position yourself and your finances to benefit and, understand compound interest and those kind of things. Because Warren Buffett, that's his philosophy is, compound interest. He, been thinking that way since he was 10 years old. He's 90. So, and we already know it's worked for him. And then the final thing is taking action, because we talk about doing things, but we don't actually do them. You say, okay, I'm thinking about this, or I'm going to do this, but you have to actually do it. You have to decide, commit, and take action. So those are the 6 obstacles that, if you understand them and identify your main obstacle and how to overcome it, then, you can do pretty good.
Okay, so let's take it. Let's talk from the person that's listening here today, because like what you said, like is a whole. I mean, that's a lot
A
to
lot.
tackle,
Yeah.
right? So let's just give them one action step that they can do, because let's just take it like what is one action step that they can do and incorporate in to their business today that can get them further down the road until we can educate them further. What would you tell that woman today?
Well, one area that I talk about in my book is how to increase your income without getting a second job, or by doing your daily routines.
Mhm.
I am an advocate for using rewards points, loyalty, cashback rewards, because you can, and I'm going to give you an example. I had a conference last summer in Chicago, 7 days or 7 nights. I stayed at the Marriott Hotel. It was a full service. It wasn't one of the lower, brands. And I'm a Marriott person. I'm at the titanium level. So, and I'm a Southwest person. So looked at the airline, tickets, and it would have cost me almost $500 to do a round trip from Atlanta to Chicago. So, I pulled out my points, see what I got, and looked at when I wanted to fly. And I was able to get the flight I wanted round trip. It cost me $5.60 each way. So it's $11.20 round trip for a $500 ticket. I got to Chicago, checked into the hotel, and using my points to book it, you book at the cheapest rate for Marriott, which is still expensive, but they upgrade me automatically to a studio or a suite, I should say.
Mhm.
So the suite would have cost me like, $550 a night. So here I am getting the suite with my points. I didn't pay any money. I get to eat in the club room where they have the smoked salmon, the fresh pastries, fresh fruits, all the not bottled water and all that for breakfast. And then, in the evening, they had the nice hors d'oeuvres and wine or whatever. And that breakfast alone, if I would have ordered those items in the full service restaurant, I would have spent about $50 a day just for breakfast. So I ended up saving almost $5,000 for that entire trip because I use points and stuff. And I don't know about you, but most business people could do something, or even regular people with $5,000. You can do a few things. So that's what I'm a proponent for using your everyday activities, every place you frequent, and they have rewards points, they have loyalty or cash back. If you got a debit or credit card, make sure it offers that, because even if you use a debit card to pay your monthly bills, if it has a cash back reward, you can get some money back that can help you pay something else. So
I
that's
love
a way, like I said, money, penny saved is a penny earned, and so I'm a firm believer in that. And then I look at, I was listening to Angel. My thing is, my kids taught me this. They resell stuff. They take their gently used items like gym shoes, all these expensive shirts and all that, and they sell them again, and they're making a profit. They buy low, sell high. And that's how people are shopping now, especially with the pandemic. They're shopping online. I'm a thrift store person, and my daughter calls me the thrift store queen, but I've got designer things. Matter of fact, I just bought a nice Chico blazer at the Goodwill store for like $5, and that would have cost me probably about $75 in the store new. And I'm not too proud. My mom taught me that,
I love what you're saying, because I mean, it's that concept, one man's trash is another man's treasure. That, and I will tell you, a lot of the top earner ladies that I know that dress to the nine, I will tell you that I know their secrets. I mean, they buy stuff on eBay, they buy Poshmark, I mean, so I know that there's a lot of, I mean, it's not about the money. It's not about how much money you make. It's how much money you keep, right?
Yes.
And that's really the mindset that we really want to get people into. So I love those. That's such a great tip. And so Dr. Wendy, you talked about mindset. What is it that you do? Can you give us, like, what is it that you use for your mindset? Like, do you daily, like, give us a couple of tips in that arena before we go?
Well, the first thing I do before I get out of bed is I read my scriptures, and everything that I post in the She Network is what I read in the morning. That's why my posts are so early, because I get up, and I don't even get up. I lay there and I read my scriptures and I post it, because I get such good feedback of people saying, wow, I need to hear that. And I know for me, it's like, wow, I need to read that. So that's one of the things that I do when I first start out in the morning. I read my scriptures, I post it on, social media. I check my bank accounts, because I have been hacked, and I had some things just recently, people were using my credit card, and I had it in my, my possession. So you have to stay on top of that, because things will happen, especially now that everything's virtual. And then you talked about, what is one of my favorite sayings. It's, with Robert Kiyosaki. He said, it's not how much money you make, it's how much you keep, how hard it works for you, and how much you leave for future generations. So that's the whole process there. You make it, you keep it, you make it work for you, and you pass it on. So that's the process. That's what you want to do. We don't want to just be one generation of successful people or wealthy people. If the people that are wealthy, they pass it on to their children's children. Even the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Yes. And that's what we need to get to. And a lot of us are first generation, wealthy people. And, and I found that even though our parents, I know in my case, my parents, and my grandparents, they had a little money, but it was the thing that a lot of people I see that their parents might have had money, and then there was quite a few of them in their family. Instead of them taking that property and, keeping it in the family and, having that paid for property and just, let the money flow, they're selling it off to give, all the brothers and sisters their share. And next thing you know, they don't know where that money went. It's gone. They don't have the property, they don't have the money, and they're still in the hole. So, we have to get out of that, get rich quick, or think is, you got to have it now. And one of the sayings that I really love, it says, discipline is deciding what you want most over what you want now. I love that, because,
discipline
discipline is what you want most over what you want now.
Oh, wow.
We want everything right now. But, if you look at the people that are successful, they will forego those wants until, they decide they want to get it. And even
That's
then, they're using this, living the same life, or not, shouldn't say living the same life, but I like Warren Buffett, for example. He's living in the same house he's lived in for years. Now he could buy whatever property he wants. He's driving the same car for years, which is fine, and my thing is, those material things aren't as important to people that are wealthy, because their whole strategy is to position themselves for more wealth, and not necessarily materialistic wealth, but more, like I said, to be able to pass down to their children's children.
I love that. I love that. Well, Dr. Wendy, it has been such a pleasure having you on today. Such incredible tips. I know that you're going to be sharing some financial literacy secrets for the ladies, the members inside the network. So if you haven't had a chance, make sure you join the membership here, because we've got lots of training going on the backside over here. And I've got a lot of things coming up. We've got, I love what you were talking about, creating additional streams of income. We're going to be talking a lot about that. I'm going to be bringing, opportunities in for women who maybe who are in network marketing and want something, that an additional stream that doesn't conflict with what they're doing. Maybe there's ladies in here who don't have an opportunity that outside of their network marketing or traditional business. So we're going to be talking a lot about that, because I think, really what women need is having that financial literacy, right? Learning those things and really taking time to educate themselves on things that they can do every single day. And even if they don't learn all 6 of these things that you have, just learning a couple of them and can make them go further down the road, right?
That's
And
correct.
like doing something daily, doing something consistently, because you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results, right?
That's true. That's true. Now, I do, if I may plug my book,
Yes.
it's Diagnose Your Financial Health on Amazon. And I think it's available now for purchase, because I went and bought some author copies. I don't know if it's too early for other people to buy, but I am offering to all your listeners a 20-minute complimentary consultation if they would text the word TALK, TALK, to 770-796-4944. That's TALK to 770-796-4944, because a lot of people don't want to, they want to talk about their specific situations. And the book will give you some generalities, but, I like to get people started on the right track so they can, look at and identify, because a lot of people think they know where they are financially, but they really don't. So,
well, and Dr. Wendy, if you, and whenever we get off here, if you can put that information inside the comments, or maybe Tina,
okay.
that you can put that inside the comments there for the ladies who are listening in, who would like to talk to Dr. Wendy and get her input and get her help. That's what we're here for. We're here to collaborate and not compete, right? We're here to empower women, encourage women, edify them, and help them, save time, right? And
That's right.
help resourcing, because we spend so much time resourcing and trying to find things and trying to look for solutions for what we're going through. So whatever we can do to help and support that. And Wendy, I want to thank you again for being so involved and loving on the ladies inside the group, and all the encouragement. It means so much to me. I wish I had about 100 of you,
You will. But one thing I do want to say, one comment I want to make, especially for us women, remember that what God has for you is for you, and nobody else can take it, because we get so, envious sometimes, and you say, wow, I wish I would have, or I could have, but what's meant for you is going to come to you no matter what anybody else does. But you have to keep that in mind, and be happy for other women that are doing well. Be grateful that they're being successful because you're going to be a success. You just have to understand that, nobody's going to take anything away from you that you're entitled to. God has your provision waiting for you. You just have to do what you're supposed to do to get it.
I love what you're saying there, Dr. Wendy, because I will tell you, whenever you begrudge somebody else's blessing, you block your own blessing.
That's true.
Right? And whenever you are happy and you can celebrate another woman and her success, I'm telling you, your blessing is right around the corner and it's waiting. And so thank you so much for bringing that up, because I'm such a big, big believer in that, because there is enough room at the top. There's enough oxygen for all of us. We all have a special plan that God has for each and every one of us, an assignment that we're here for somebody, and the thing about it is that there is enough for all, right?
For everybody. Yes, that's good. And thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to continuing to be a part of the She Network and being a CEO. I really love that.